नमस्कार, शुभ दिन। मैं अत्यंत प्रसन्नता से आप सबका इस समारोह में स्वागत करता हूँ। Now I will turn to English. Along with investing in physical infrastructure and human capital, investing in the power of the community is now seen as one of the primary levers in the fight to eradicate poverty and to enhance human welfare. Of course, an important aspect of enhancing human welfare is enhancing the power of women in development. There's a lot of research that shows that now, and it's a critical aspect. India is a pioneer in both the investment in community development, but particularly in investments to use the community to enhance women's empowerment. Lessons from India are going to be important, not just to enhance other efforts within the country, but I think the whole world is watching India, because as we've seen from a global perspective, India is really seen as an example. That's why we in 3IE, being a champion of the generation and use of evidence for decision making, are so honored to be able to co-host this event here this morning. And I want to thank all of you for coming. As was mentioned, our co-partners with this are all here in this room, and I'll introduce them very briefly in a minute. But in 3IE, we believe that the lessons for India are going to be critical for everybody else. And you'll hear shortly this morning an evaluation that 3IE has been doing in evaluating the National Rural Livelihoods Mission, specifically with the objective of seeing what the effects have been on women's empowerment. We've also done a literature review on community-driven development, which is available online. With that, what I'd like to do now is to ask each of my colleagues on the panel to just say a few words. You'll be given no more than 4 minutes each, and my colleague will give you a bit of a warning when 2 minutes are coming, because we do need to get the rest of the agenda. But I think it's very important to hear from each of you as important players in this area why you think your organization really has a vested interest and a stake in this sector for India. So I'd like to start. I'm not going to read out all of your bios because they're available on, I think, outside. It's a very distinguished panel, but I will just announce each of your titles. But I encourage all of you to read all about them because they are a fascinating panel indeed. Let me first ask Alka Upadhyay, Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Rural Development and Director General of the National Rural Infrastructure Development Agency and CEO of the NRLM and Director General of the Council for the Advancement of People's Actions and Rural Technology, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to all of you. So it's indeed a pleasure to be here. And talking about MORD and our stake in it, of course, I think we are the biggest stakeholders in this entire conversation. And briefly, what we are doing is trying to look at poverty in terms of interventions in a two-pronged strategy. And that strategy essentially centers around two essential pillars, which is to look at poverty of geographies and poverty of individuals. Poverty of geographies, it's the areas far-flung and beyond which suffer from this inequity and poor infrastructure and resultantly the other poor indicators. So infrastructure development, which goes in with roads and building houses and getting in drinking water, sanitation, these are the essential elements, and then of course power. In the recent times, the interministerial groups have also been talking about clean energy. So a lot of interventions have been done in that front as well through our Ujala and Ujwala schemes. As far as poverty of individuals is concerned, that is the difficult part, and for which we are all over here today. There has to be a clear-cut strategy, clearly an evidence-based policy, which has to be created to handle this particular task, and which, as I said, is very, very difficult. So one is to identify whom are we going to work with, and two, for whom are we going to work with. And for whom we are working, there has to be a stratification, there has to be a clear-cut base, or we have to have a clear-cut knowledge as to what is the pool which needs to be handled first to bring them above poverty. There also we need to have a graded approach, and that goes for geographies as well as for our individual beneficiary schemes. So we'll have to look at people who can move up the ladder faster, and then we have to look at people who are at the most disadvantage. And for that, we need to identify the growth points or the engines which can pull up these people as well. So National Rural Livelihood Mission essentially is working in this direction. What has emerged so far is that it is the people from the community who understand the community, who understand the issues. They are the best engines who can take forward this population. And I'm very happy to just rattle a few figures over here. We've been organizing, mobilizing women, and roughly 6.3 crore women households, they have been mobilized. Roughly 59 lakh SHGs have now been formed. We are in that phase where we want to move from mobilizing to organizing for economic activities, higher economic activities. This is the current phase, and that leads to a lot of challenge that in fact deepens the challenge even more, because to move this lot from just sustenance to more productive, gainful employment is where all of us who are sitting in this room will have to think. We have to organize ourselves. There have been a number of pleasant lessons learned, including Didi, who is sitting over here from Bihar. She would be talking about it. We have very good lessons which have come from Kerala, Kudumshi. We've seen things happening in Orissa, Jharkhand, so on and so forth. So I think a lot of thought has to go in this direction. Now we have to leverage technology, we have to leverage the IPR to move these people forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alka. I think the perspective from government is clearly a very critical point for us who are trying to evaluate these things to understand. So thank you. I now turn to Poonam Devi, who from Bihar, who represents really the on-the-ground experience of self-help groups at that level. She's been with Jeevika for a decade.
उपस्थित यहाँ सभी को मेरा प्रणाम। मेरा नाम पूनम देवी है। मैं बिहार राज्य के मुजफ्फरपुर ज़िले के मुसहरी ब्लॉक के खबड़ा गांव के यहाँ से आई हूँ, और मेरे समूह का गठन 2009 में हुआ था। मेरे समूह का नाम शिव शक्ति जीविका स्वयं सहायता समूह है। पूर्णिमा जीविका ग्राम संगठन की मैं सदस्य हूँ, और संगम जीविका महिला संघ के भी मैं सदस्य हूँ। मुझे यहाँ आज आप सबके बीच अपनी बातों को रखने के लिए बुलाया गया, इसके लिए मैं बहुत बहुत आप सभी का धन्यवाद करती हूँ। यहाँ जीविका के बारे में आए, मेरे परिवार में जो परिवर्तन हुआ है उसके बारे में मैं कुछ शब्द बताना चाहती हूँ। 2009 में जब जीविका मेरे गांव में आया तो एक वो दिए की रोशनी की तरह मेरे परिवार को उजाला कर दिया। वो इसलिए क्योंकि मेरे पति पहले कुछ काम नहीं करते थे, वो घर पे ही रहते थे, उन्हें कुछ काम नहीं था क्योंकि पैसे के अभाव था। इस दौरान जीविका में मेरे पास बचत करने के लिए भी पैसा नहीं होता था समूह में कि मैं बचत करूं। तो दूसरे मैं कभी ऋण भी नहीं लेती थी कि क्योंकि मेरे पति कमाते नहीं थे तो उसका हम चुकता कैसे करेंगे। दूसरे सदस्य को ऋण लेते देख मुझ में हिम्मत हुई, हौसला हुई, तो मैं जब मेरा VO का गठन हुआ तो उससे मैं कुछ पैसे लिए 15,000 रुपये, उससे मैं अपने पति को एक सेकेंड हैंड गाड़ी खरीद के दी। उससे मेरे घर की आर्थिक स्थिति थोड़ा थोड़ा ठीक होने लगा और जब वो गाड़ी चलने लगा तो इससे मेरे अपने बच्चों को भी शिक्षित करने लगी। आज 10 वर्ष बाद मेरे पास 3 ऑटो रिक्शा है और मेरे बच्चे भी अच्छे से शिक्षित हो रहे हैं। बड़ा लड़का अभी PG का पढ़ाई कर रहा है, दूसरे को मैं CA की तैयारी करवा रही हूँ, वो फाउंडेशन निकाल चुका है। और मैं आगे चाहती हूँ कि एक कुछ इसी में और गाड़ी बढ़ाऊँ और स्कॉर्पियो लेने के विचार से मैं अभी हूँ। फिर ये मेरा ही देखा गया तो ये मेरा ही कहानी नहीं है, ऐसे अनेक दीदी हैं हमारे CLF में जिसके पास ये दिक्कत थी, गरीबी से वो जूझ रही थी। मेरे CLF की अध्यक्ष और बाकी दीदियों ने यह निर्णय लिया कि हम लोग इतना काम करते हैं फिर भी हमारे CLF इतना पिछड़ा क्यों है, दीदी इतना पिछड़ा क्यों है। तो उन्होंने एक योजना का गठन किया। 2018 में 15 अगस्त को मेरे CLF ने एक अलग से योजना का गठन किया जिसका नाम संगम सृजन योजना पड़ा। ये योजना 2 वर्ष के लिए बनाया गया जिसे 3 चरण में चलाना था। पहला चरण 9 करोड़ का था जो 15 अगस्त 2018 से 31 मार्च 2019 तक चला, क्योंकि इसमें उन दीदियों को चुनाव किया गया जो कभी राशन के लिए, बेटी की शादी के लिए, घर बनाने के लिए, महाजन चुकता करने के लिए पैसा तो लेती थी लेकिन रोजगार के लिए कभी नहीं लेती थी। तो उन लोगों को रोजगार के लिए पैसा दिया गया, छोटे छोटे रोजगार के लिए पैसे दिए गए, तो इससे उन लोगों का आत्मविश्वास बढ़ा और छोटे छोटे रोजगार से सभी को जोड़ दिया गया। फिर दूसरा चरण चला 1 अप्रैल 2019 से 31 मार्च 25 मार्च 2020 तक। इस चरण में 22 करोड़ की लागत का खर्च करना था। जो पहले से रोजगार कर चुकी है उसको बढ़ाने के लिए, कैसे उनके घर की आय बढ़े, वो बढ़ाने के लिए ये राशि को उन लोगों के बीच वितरण किया जा रहा है। अभी हमारे संगम सृजन योजना का ये दूसरा चरण है और तीसरा चरण होगा 26 जनवरी 2020 से 15 अगस्त 2020 तक। और इस बीच में मेरे संगम CLF में 42 करोड़ का अभी तक ट्रांजैक्शन हो चुका है और अभी तक इसमें मेरे बैंक का भी बहुत बड़ा योगदान है। मेरे बैंक से अभी 13 करोड़ की राशि का वितरण किया जा चुका है और पूरे बिहार में 11,000 करोड़ की राशि का वितरण किया जा चुका है। इसी बीच LIC भी किया जा रहा है। 4,115 लोगों की LIC हो चुकी है, बीमा हो चुकी है, जिसमें पति का भी बीमा बैंक द्वारा किया जा रहा है और इस पति का बीमा बैंक द्वारा किया जा रहा है। हमारे CLF का ये सोच है कि वो अपना भवन का निर्माण करे और इतना आमदनी हो कि वो अपने कैडर का मानदेय खुद भुगतान करे। ये सब देखते हुए सामाजिक कार्य में भी हमारे CLF काम कर रही है। शराबबंदी है, शौचालय का निर्माण है, जल जीवन हरियाली का निर्माण है और ये सभी कार्य में हमारे CLF बढ़ चढ़ कर हिस्सा ले रही है। सभी का सोक्ता पीठ निर्माण किया जा रहा है और हर एक सदस्य एक एक पेड़ अपने घर पे लगा रही है। फिर हमारे यहाँ विद्या निधि का भी प्रावधान है। पहले 1 रुपया बचत होता था, फिर 2 रुपया होने लगा, अब 5 रुपया हो रहा है। बिहार में इस तरह से स्टूडेंट क्रेडिट कार्ड का भी इस्तेमाल हो रहा है। फिर ये सब कार्य करते हुए स्वास्थ्य पोषण पे भी ध्यान दिया जा रहा है। स्वास्थ्य पोषण में महिलाएं अब अस्पताल में प्रसव के लिए जा रही है और पहले से अब कम बीमार पड़ती है और कम माता की मृत्यु होती है। जब हमारा और सरकारी योजना से भी जुड़ा हो रहा है, तो हमारे यहाँ जब आर्थिक, सामाजिक, शिक्षा और स्वास्थ्य और सरकारी योजना का लाभ मिलेगा, ये सब एक मुट्ठी बन जाएगा। और जब ये इस देश की आधी आबादी का विकास होगा, तो इस राज्य का और इस देश का विकास तो होना ही है। बस मैं इतना ही कहना चाहती हूँ।
बहुत धन्यवाद पूनम. I didn't understand everything she said, but I could sense the passion and the really important messages that she had for us with the view from the ground. I'd like to turn to our donor partners to get their perspective. So first, Sumila Guliyani, who is the World Bank's Program Leader for Infrastructure and Sustainable Development here in India. Sumila?
It's a real pleasure to be here. Good morning to you all, and many thanks to both our speakers for their very inspiring openings. I'm here on behalf of the World Bank, and we've been a partner in this rural development program and agenda with Government of India for decades. In terms of the National Rural Livelihoods Mission, we started working with Government of India in 2011, and we are continuing our support, but we also work on other forms of rural development, infrastructure development, on agricultural productivity and investments, on climate smart agriculture and all of that. And for us, this whole effort on self-help groups and collective action, it has been a major excitement in the World Bank. We've been partnering in this whole agenda, and we see in South Asia this whole approach to collective action both as a pioneering approach and a place where a lot of experience has been gained. So as Manny said, what's happening in India and the rest of South Asia has lessons to offer to the rest of the world on the one hand, and as we learn from the experiences of what's happening in different parts of India, we can refine our approaches. The government can, donor partners can, and private sector and NGOs can, based on the evidence that's emerging from here. So this collective action agenda, essentially, we see two pieces to it. In India, it has been led in a large part by the government and donor partners, but it also has more grassroots approaches like Seva in Gujarat, that started in Gujarat, and Bangladesh, of course, has world-renowned NGOs like BRAC and Grameen Bank that have done a lot of work in this area. What I want to ahead of this panel, I looked at some of the literature that's emerging from this area, and I want to flag a couple of things. The one thing that all of these studies find across the board is that the presence or incidence of high-cost debt is going down in all projects and programs where SHGs have been formed. So this collective savings approach and the access to credit story is changing. So there's lower cost debt and there's greater access to credit, and different figures put the figure at different places, but as much as $50 billion of credit has been raised by self-help groups. This is a major step forward. Another thing that we find very strongly across these pieces of studies is that women labor force participation seems to be improving or higher in the places where you have SHGs. So a recent study in 3 states showed that women's labor force participation was 13.6% higher in the places where you had these SHGs relative to control groups. And this is a major step forward in a country where female labor force participation has been declining dramatically. It has fallen 10 percentage points between 2005 and something like 2018. It's contributing to female labor force participation, and it is contributing to women's participation both politically and in household decision making. So women are showing up more in Gram Sabhas. They are speaking up more, they're speaking longer. But the caveat there is it's not necessary that the Gram Sabhas are listening to what they're saying. So we have to get to that transition, but they're saying more. And they are saying that there is greater influence on decision making within the household. Their mobility has increased. But on economic side, we are finding mixed impacts. So on the one hand, you have in Tamil Nadu an increase in economic expenditure, an increase in skilled work, and a more diversified livelihood portfolio, whereas other studies seem to indicate, with caveats, that at least initial evaluations in places like Bihar did not show the kind of economic transformation that we are seeing in Tamil Nadu. So there is a very large agenda ahead. How do we move, as Madam Upadhyay said, from purely mobilization to enhanced economic impact of this work? Your research and studies can help us all understand that better. And there are a couple of other questions, several other questions that arise. If you could tell us, what is the difference between public and government-sponsored mobilization and groups versus ones that are supported by agencies like SEVA and BRAC? What is the difference there? What can we leverage in terms of strengths in one versus the other? And how is it that we use this kind of work and studies to help the government move forward on this rural transformation agenda? I wish you all success in your deliberations today. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Sumila, for that very important perspective from the multilateral development side and the lessons that you've cited. Now turn to Alkesh Wadhwani, who's the India Country Director for Poverty Alleviation for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for his perspective on the private sector foundation side. Alkesh?
Thank you, Manny. So I'll start with echoing what you said, that we too believe in the power of communities. We believed in that ever since we started working in India in 2003. And that's why it's such a privilege for us to be associated and support NRLM and the SRLMs. Like Mrs. Upadhyay said, it's the phase now of organizing to now getting it to economic outcomes. And that's where, from mobilizing to organizing. And we support SRLMs and NRLMs in both areas. So in the organizing aspect, where states are still have not yet reached scale, like UP, we support SRLMs in organizing. And in other states where perhaps it's more advanced, Bihar is here, Jeevika is here, we look at the second side, which is organizing. Mobilizing perhaps has been done largely in Bihar, even though it's ongoing. On the organizing side, we look at both farm livelihoods and non-farm livelihoods through our gender team. In addition, we do look at social outcomes too, like health and nutrition. And finally, as again Mrs. Upadhyay said, really to get this going at scale, you need to leverage technology. And even there, we are working and supporting NRLM through a digital architecture. So I would say these are some of the areas we work in. I'll just share a few examples in each of these areas. So if I look at the organizing side for economic livelihoods, we have some experience on both on the agriculture side and the non-agriculture side. On the agriculture side, we work primarily in Bihar and Orissa. What we found is working with SHGs, and we tried this at a scale of about 80,000 SHGs. It was possible to get three outcomes: increase incomes, increase nutrition, so the food that was produced would increase and part of it would be used by the household, and increase empowerment too. So that was very exciting for us to see that it's possible to do all these three areas. We also worked on the market linkages side to look at two models. One is with FPOs and one is with agriculture cluster models. And both these models seem to be working quite well. We found increases in income of about 20 to 25% in different areas. So again, quite exciting work. On the non-agriculture side, again, we are working using and leveraging the NRETP component of NRLM and looking at, these are just getting off the ground, looking at how to have pilots for accelerators and incubators. If I look at the social side, we have two areas, health, nutrition I'll count as one, and the second is social empowerment. So on the health and nutrition, this is perhaps our oldest stream of work. Here we work on both maternal mortality and neonatal mortality. And we've been working for more than 5 years in both UP and Bihar. Here perhaps, because it's the most mature program, again we are finding very good outcomes. We find outcomes even more than what we find through what the main department, which is WCD and health and nutrition, can get in terms of behavior change. So in addition to what happens with the ASHA workers and the Anganwadi workers, for example, in maternal health, we are finding that birth preparedness, we can get up to 10 percentage points more working with SHGs. Or in IFA tablets during pregnancy, again, 10 to 11 percentage points. Same with neonatal health, we find indicators like early initiation of breastfeeding or timely initiation of complementary feeding go up by between 10 and 20 percentage points when we are working with SHGs, VOs and CLFs. So again, very exciting. We are working to take it up to scale. Finally, the last thing I'd say is that a new part of our agenda, which is again for us, perhaps the crux of what we want to do, just because right up from Bill and Melinda onwards, they believe in the power of women and empowering women for any program. We are working with NRLM to improve the trainings to see that, for example, decision making goes up in households, and also supporting and piloting gender resource centers, which could have a whole various outcomes for empowerment. I won't, just given time's up, I won't talk about our digital work or our financial inclusion work, but we would also plan to support NRLM and SRLMs in these areas. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Alkesh. The Gates Foundation has been a very important partner for us at 3IE for a very long time, since the beginning, and something that we want to acknowledge. Let me now turn to Nupur Barua, who is the head of the UK's Department for International Development, DFID, South Asia Research Hub, based here in Delhi. So, Nupur?
Thank you, Mani. Good morning. Very pleased to be here. Really very interesting lineup of presentations and discussions later today, which I look forward to. But just to say that my organization, the UK Department for International Development, makes huge investments in research for development. We have an annual budget of close to £400 million, and we fund research across a very wide range of geographies on agriculture, on climate change, on health, nutrition, on education, social development, technology, climate change, and the list goes on. So why do we invest in research? We invest in research because we need evidence to base our decisions upon. And without good quality evidence, we might actually be doing things that are actually not working, or worse, sometimes even doing harm. We've learned over the past 10 to 15 years that where we have a strong evidence base, we can actually make changes to our practice, but also drive intervention programs, such as the programs that are delivered through our bilateral country programs, to ensure that they have the biggest impact on the poorest people. We support research on 3 areas. One, on the development of new technologies. Second, on how do we deliver most effectively, so on the mechanisms of delivery, and on improving systems, be it at the health systems level or at other systemic levels, and working with host governments in doing so. But also research on understanding the context in which we are working. I just wanted to reflect on 3 issues when we're talking about the use of evidence for policy making, which is what this conference is all about. So 3 quick points. One on the importance of synthesizing research findings. Now, this is a point that should be obvious, but it's not always as fully worked through. So it is not about moving from primary research or from a single study to tug at the sleeve of policymakers, but it's about pulling together all the evidence that exists on a particular topic into a coherent package and then communicating it to policymakers. The second is about using evidence or about tailoring the evidence that we produce and packaging it in a way that is actually usable by policymakers. So we should try and simplify as much as we can and draw out points that are actually actionable by program implementers on the ground. And finally, just to say that in terms of using a range of methodologies to evaluate impact and measuring what works and what doesn't. Additional Secretary Upadhyay mentioned the focus on individuals in the development of interventions to alleviate poverty, and really thinking about how can we talk about a broader toolkit to measure interventions for what's working and what's not, going beyond the quantitative, bringing in a wider range of qualitative and quantitative approaches to ensure that we are looking at not just the what, but also about the how and the why. I'll stop here for now. Thank you, Mani.
Thanks very much, Nupur. And I think you've previewed, in effect, the next session, which is the very important point of how we translate from generating research to actually making sure that it's used for development. I think you'll agree with me that this panel has shown why it's so important to have conferences like this, in which different stakeholders come together to make sure, as someone pointed out before the session today, that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That you had the perspectives of government, who are making the most important policy decisions here in India, perspectives of the NGO who are working on the ground to deliver to the ultimate beneficiaries, the perspectives of different donor partners, and how we all need to work together. And I think over the next couple of days, we're going to be sharing lessons, and we certainly hope on the part of 3IE to learn from them, as well as to be able to tell everybody else about the work that we've been doing. And I encourage all of you to do the same, that this is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to learn from each other. And I encourage you to be, it's never been a problem from what I've observed in India, to be active participants in conferences, in the conference, and to share your thoughts. So with that, please join me again in thanking our very distinguished panel for their perspectives. And I now turn it over back to you.